You know, recently, 7 African countries decided to go and put a call for peace to Ukraine and to Russia. And we raised a number of issues. Zambia was represented, Comoros was represented, Republic of Congo was represented, Senegal was represented, Uganda, as well as South Africa. So we were all represented, and Egypt as well. So we were all at one, that even as we were going to address an issue of the war which has had a negative impact on the African continent, which is the rise in prices for food, rise in prices for fertilizers, we were clear that we are not going there as beggars. We are not going to ask for a favor to both Ukraine and Russia. We were going there to say, open up the Black Sea Channel so that the grains and the fertilizers should go into the world market. So we were not on a begging mission, even as we are in great need as a continent and all that. That should go to demonstrate that Africa should never be seen as a continent that needs generosity. We want to be treated as equal. President Sisi and I have been talking about a railway from Cape Town to Cairo for years. We will leave that for the next summit, but the one on generating electricity and building power stations on the Inga Dam is the most important, that is immediate, that I believe needs to be addressed now. Let's get that done, and then we will be convinced that you are serious with the promises that you make. Thank you.
Yes, brothers and sisters, we are not beggars. We went to Ukraine and Russia to ask Zelensky and Putin to release fertilizer. Don't you see we went there as beggars? Don't you see that we are begging for Ukraine and Russia to give us fertilizer and the grain? And if we went there to mediate, why we are not mediating what is happening in Sudan? Our leaders went to Sudan. Our leaders called Sudanese leaders, maybe in Addis. Our leaders went to Ouagadougou, in Burkina, in Bamako, in Mali, in Niamey, in Niger. Oh, because in Niger, in Mali, in Burkina Faso, there's no grain, there's no fertilizer. And if there's no fertilizer, there's no grain, it means we went to Europe, in Russia and Ukraine for begging. That means. So if President Ramaphosa said we are not beggars, and yet we went to ask for grain and fertilizer, it doesn't make sense. We went there as beggars. And that's the reality. Let us produce our own grain. Let us produce our own fertilizer here in the continent of Africa. Because if it's about mediation, why we are not mediating what is happening in Sudan, what is happening in Niger, in the Democratic Republic of Congo? Our leaders went to Congo to meet President Tshisekedi and telling him that what you are doing is not okay. Stop what you are doing, calling those M23 and bring them together. Have you done like that? But we are begging. Listen here. Also, we are begging for the money of climate changes. Not only that, we beg also for Inga Dam. Listen what Ramaphosa said.
I do, Mr. President Macron, want us to address another issue which to us is a bit of a negative. You will have heard President Sisi talking about the 100 billion that was promised in Paris. President Sassou Nguesso yesterday as well also spoke about it at the dinner. Now there is that issue that a number of the commitments that have been made have not really been fully lived up to. But before I get into details, let me immediately say that we recognize the many initiatives that have been put on the table, and a number of countries here have done so. Germany has gone out of the way to put a number of initiatives, and the US has also done a number of things. But there have been times when we felt like we were beggars. I played a key role as chair of the African Union during the COVID period. We felt like we were beggars when it came to vaccine availability, when we felt we needed access to vaccines, and the Northern Hemisphere countries had bought all the vaccines in the world, and they were hogging them. And they didn't want to release them at the time when we needed them most. And we felt like we were begging. And at times it felt like they would just be droppings from the table, that yes, we will give you that and that. And let me tell you something that generated a lot of resentment. We resented that, and it got worse when we said we want to manufacture our own vaccines. And when we went to the WTO, there was a lot of resistance, enormous resistance. And we kept saying, what is more important, life or profits by your big pharmaceutical companies? And that too, I must tell you now, generated and deepened that disappointment and resentment on our part, because we felt like life in the Northern Hemisphere is much more important than life in the global South. And these are issues that need to be addressed. And I'm glad that we are all seated here like this, because we've got to get to the heart of these matters and address them. Now, I come to promises that have been made. And Chancellor Scholz was saying, we've got to walk the talk. Yes, we want to see the talk being walked. President Sassou Nguesso yesterday said at the dinner, $100 billion was promised per year. And he was saying, I've never seen that. And many of us will testify that that $100 billion has never really been made available. And this should stand out as something that needs to be addressed. Because sometimes we sit at conferences like this and say, yes, we'll make this available, and we believe you. We believe you, but now the tire must hit the tar. We must now see action flowing from that. Now, I want to then talk about something very practical. President Sassou Nguesso raised it yesterday. He said he would be happy if flowing from this summit, we do something very practical on the infrastructure side. Having said that 600 million people in Africa do not have electricity, and yet we've got all the resources to generate electricity, particularly the mighty Congo River, and that there have been plans to build a number of power stations that will generate, in my calculation, up to 70,000 megawatts. And he said, and I want to speak in support of this proposal, that to prove that these summits are not summits where we just talk, flowing from the Paris COP as well as others, let us now put money on the table and collectively say we are going to address this mega project. A mega project which will in the end generate electricity for up to 12, 15 African countries all at one go. And this is a project that I think the multilateral development banks here working together the call that you've made, President Macron, can actually fund. And where, as we rise from this, we should be able to say the Inga Dam is now going to be developed into the Inga Power Station, the one that President Sassou Nguesso mentioned, and the next one as well. If we can do that, then we as Africans will now be convinced that these summits are really meaningful. We will now go home and say, you know what, it's worthwhile going to these summits, coming to Europe, and to listen to all the promises because they are willing to act on the promises. This is what President Macron, I believe, will be one of the most important outcomes. The reform of the financial architecture, as well as a practical project, infrastructure project that is going to add a lot of value. President Sisi and I have been talking about a railway from Cape Town to Cairo for years. We will leave that for the next summit, but the one on generating electricity and building power stations on the Inga Dam is the most important, that is immediate, that I believe needs to be addressed now. Let's get that done, and then we will be convinced that you are serious with the promises that you make. Thank you.
Yes, I think we are still begging because it doesn't make sense that those who promised us maybe billions of US dollars, they didn't fulfill those promises, and yet we are still believing them, and we are still asking them. You know, these people, they know how to play the games. Always I say these things. Right now we are talking about reparation. If they promise us to give money for maybe this what climate changes, and they didn't give us those money, can they accept to pay reparation? Oh, we are just maybe talking. And what I see, no European countries, no European country will pay reparation to us because we are not serious. And of course, we have seen as beggars. Just imagine, right now we are talking about Inga Dam. So we are begging for Europeans to come and build Inga Dam. Do you see Europeans will come and build Inga Dam and give you money for you to build Inga Dam, to supply energy across the continent, for you to be industrialized, to have industries so that you can start processing your resources, adding value to our natural resources. Are Europeans serious? They want you Africans to process your minerals, to process your agricultural products. And when Europeans are the ones who are beneficiaries of these resources, Africans, let us wake up. Let us stop pretending as we are solving challenges, but we are not solving any challenges. The only solution for us Africans is to come together. If these countries, instead of going to France and speaking with President Macron, and looks like we are solving challenges, while we are not solving challenges, let us come together, sit in Addis, sit in Kampala, sit in Ouagadougou, sit in maybe Pretoria, sit in Dar es Salaam or Nairobi, have a serious conversation that we need to build Inga Dam. Where are we going to get fund? We are going to contribute. You know, it doesn't make sense that Africans, even African Union is being funded by the NGOs and European Union, US, and yet we want the same people to give us money to build Inga Dam. You know, one day I was listening to President Museveni. Museveni has spoken one thing that is very important. He's too old, but still has wisdom. He told IMF president that when you come to Africa, You sponsor these meetings, you sponsor these occasions, but you cannot sponsor, of course, they sponsor NGOs, circumcisions, something like that, but they are not ready to sponsor railway, to sponsor uh, electric trains so that Africans can move goods from one place to another at low cost and lower the cost of production. But these institutions are ready to keep Africans into nice hotels, into good, motel and good things, instead of sponsoring good things that can help in uplifting the life of Africans. And the issue here is very simple. No one is in Europe, no one is in America, no one is in China, in Russia, who is thinking about you Africans. So African leaders must understand this. To go and lament for Macron and other people, it doesn't make any changes. What we need African leaders is to sit down in Addis or wherever in any capital in this continent and starting strategies, what we need to do, what we need to achieve at what time and when we are going to start. That is what is very, very important for us. So I've been listening President Ramaphosa very keenly, speaking that we are not beggars. Yes, I agree with that we are not beggars, but we are begging for Ukraine and Russia to release grain and fertilizers. You know, this powerful nation, they know how uh, to, to switch off the flow, you see. So if you touch, and that's why you remember America, when South Africa, of course, America accused South Africa about the issue of white minority genocide, genocide in South Africa. America said, I will remove you from AGOA. I will remove you from SWIFT. You cannot do any transaction. You see, these people know how to play the game and know how to attack Africans. So what Africans need to do is to see how they can come together, create a systems. Right now, it doesn't make sense that for 60 years after independence, we don't have people who can create systems, people who can add value to our natural resources and create our own things. It is possible. What we fear is, I don't know what we fear. Because if Chinese have succeeded, why not Africans? If Russia, no one is talking about Russia. Russia is so powerful. Why Russia is so powerful? We can collaborate with Russia, with China, and other these countries that are not are exporting from us, and we can make things happening. But right now, brothers and sisters, we are looking beggars because instead of mining minerals and uh, something like that, now uh, we are extracting these stones. You see, that's what we are doing. So I think, brothers and sisters, we need to move beyond of our expectations. We have expected much on Europeans, on the Americans, instead of having much expectation in ourselves. So my message to all of you, brothers and sisters, and uh, Africans around the globe, all of you, that we Africans, for we to stop looks like beggars, we need to start owning our own things. President Ramaphosa touched the issue of Ingadam. So we are begging for Europeans to come and build Ingadam. Do you see that Europeans, nations, US will come and support us to build Ingadam, and Africa having source of energy, reliable source of energy, and enough energy to power the industries? There's any European nation or US or American country that will come and support us to build this Ingadam, for you to process your minerals, for you to add value to your resources, so that them who are beneficiaries of these resources and to stop taking our resources into raw forms. Are they ready? No one is ready to see you Africans. You are going to be industrialized. All these nations that you see, they are talking about Africa. They want to keep Africa in the same state, the state of being beggars, the state of poverty. Because this poverty is multi-billion industries for others. They supply medicine. You heard Ramaphosa talking about COVID. They are supplying medicine, they are supplying food, weapons, and almost everything. So they are not ready to give you electricity to power your industries, to start processing your own product while they know that you are the market of their products. So I think the only solution for we Africans, especially our leaders, is to sit down, whether in Addis or in Pretoria, in Kampala, in Nairobi, Dar es Salaam, anywhere, in Ouagadougou, Bamako, Niamey, in Abuja or Cairo, to sit down and strategize. How are we going to move out of being beggars? How we need to move out of begging situation so that we can start producing our own things. How we can fund our own projects. We cannot beg for Ingadam to be built by the Europeans. So it doesn't make sense, and they will not come. And that's why even these climate funds, they are not providing those amount. They will not provide those amount. And of course, we are now trying to say, Europeans, they are supposed to pay reparation. I want to tell you, brothers and sisters, Europeans or European nations will not pay reparation to us. If they cannot give those small amount, are they ready to pay reparation? No, because no one will give you money for you to grow, to surpass them. They want you, Africa, to remain in this situation. And our leaders know very well this situation. Yes, brothers and sisters, up to that, let me say thank you. Have a nice time. I'm speaking from here where our brothers are extracting stones instead of extracting minerals. We invest a lot of energy to extract stones instead of minerals. And minerals are going out to other people, while Africans, we are remaining poor. But all in all, if we can come together, work together, unite, we can change things on the ground. We can change the situations. So thank you a lot. Thank you for being with me. Wonderful, wonderful. Wish you a wonderful day. See you next time on other video. Thank you. Now I'm moving on. Cut that.
Thank you, Africa, Mama Africa. Oh, yeah. You make Africa great. Thank you, Africa. Thank you, Africa.